Hey guys, Stay Patient here with a quick update for the situation between Sony and Logitech concerning the lack of wheel support on the PS4. Now, most of you watching this will be aware of the petition that I have on the go on change.org. If you haven't seen that yet, check out the link in the description, go and sign it, and really this video is updating all those people who've signed that petition, letting you know what I've been doing to try and get it into the right hands, and also summarising some of the recent developments. So I do want to apologise for the lateness of this update. It's because I've been trying to sort of hunt down some more concrete information to give you all, but there have been some developments recently that I felt were worthwhile doing a video, just to summarise. So first of all, the petition did include the Fanatic wheels as well, which are now supported, which is one piece of good news. It's kind of a 50% win for us, I guess. And that kind of implies that the Thrustmaster, the situation where Thrustmaster were the only wheels that were supported, that was probably an exclusivity deal between Sony and Thrustmaster for the first year of the PS4. They probably both made money off that, but now that's run out. If that was the case, that's finished. And Fanatic are now into the fray with their wheels. They are supported. But the more recent news is that Logitech have announced the G29 as a PS4 wheel. It's literally a Sony branded wheel with the PlayStation face buttons. So it's obviously being developed along with Sony. They're working on this wheel together. But what does this mean for our current Logitech wheels? A lot of people own G27s or Driving Force GTs or G25s, and they want to know if their wheels are going to be supported. Well, I was contacting Sony a lot, trying to find the right department and being moved from one department to another, trying to sort of get hold of someone who had some kind of information or answers to my questions. And as you can imagine, Sony is such a big company, I really struggled to get through to someone who could actually help me in any way. But in the meantime, this G29 was announced, and so I kind of moved on from that line of inquiry to Logitech themselves, and I started contacting them because if you look into what Logitech have been doing over the last year or so, it becomes quite apparent, and a lot of people online have picked up on this, and I've seen a lot of people saying they will never buy a Logitech product again, and I'm actually one of those. I am not going to be purchasing any Logitech gear ever again, and I'll explain to you the reasons. First off, if this was the plan all along to release a G29, they've had so many people asking them for information on whether their current wheels will be supported, and they have just basically denied all of their current customers the information that they wanted. They haven't told anyone up until now that they're working on a new wheel, and they've just sort of left everyone in the dark. But the biggest things that they've done is basically two lies, really, that they've been telling all their customers and all of the gaming public. The first lie was that they had pulled out of the console market, and this was the reason they were giving for their current wheels not being supported. A lot of people online were saying, the G27 is not going to be supported because Logitech are no longer making accessories for consoles. They are just concentrating on PC only. And of course, the question that everyone had was, well, sure, if you're only making future products for PC and not console, that doesn't stop you from adding support for your current wheels, the ones that are already released. You can easily add support for them to the console so that we don't end up with a very expensive but ultimately useless piece of plastic and leather. But all this time they've been saying, we're not making stuff for consoles anymore, and now they come out and say, well, yeah, we got this wheel that's obviously been in development for quite some time now, whether it's months or possibly even years. So this whole time they've been telling us that no, we're not making console stuff, we're PC only, and that's turned out to be complete nonsense. And the other thing they've been telling us, and this is basically the only response I got from them when I contacted them, I pointed out everything. I said, I put a lengthy email, I'd done some research online and picked up on some other points that people had made on the forums. It seems very much like this new wheel, the G29, seems to be a way of making money from their current customers, people who have already paid them for a wheel. We've already paid them for a G27 or whatever wheel we own, and they are now trying to make more money off of us. You know, we are already their existing customers. They're trying to sort of force us to have to spend more money because they're taking away the wheels that we already own. They're stopping support for them. And to back this up, one thing that I brought to them, or should I say one thing that they said to me originally when I emailed them about it, was that the current wheels will not work with the PS4. They physically cannot be made to work with it. Now, this is something that people have been throwing around a lot online. Whenever you put something on a forum saying, you know, why aren't they supported, there'll always be someone that comes back and says they won't work with the PS4. They physically can't work. You know, stop asking for support for these wheels. But this is kind of, it's like a half-truth, but it's basically nonsense again. Because if you look at the facts, the Fanatec wheels and the Thrustmaster wheels, both manufacturers have old wheels that were released years before the PS4 was announced even. All of those wheels now work on the PS4. Now, I think the word they used in their email back to me, I haven't got it in front of me, but they talked about drivers, that their wheels do not have the right drivers or the right coding or whatever to work with the PS4. Now, that would have been the case for the old Fanatec and Thrustmaster wheels as well, unless they had some kind of time machine where they went forward in time and checked what drivers they needed for the future consoles, which is obviously impossible. You know, there is no way they could have known what drivers to include for their wheels to be future-proof, to be able to work with the next generation of consoles. So the fact that all those wheels still work prove that there is a way of, you know, adjusting, whether it's adding a driver or firmware or whatever to the PS4 itself, or whatever the case may be. I'm not really up on the technical side of it, but you know, the very fact that the old Fanatec wheels and the old Thrustmaster wheels work on PS4 proves that wheels without those drivers and without whatever it is they need can have those things added further down the line. So they could do that to the Logitech wheels, the older ones. You know, they're basically saying to us, you know, they do not work on the PS4, which is technically true. It's kind of like lawyer speak, you could say, because at the moment the Logitech wheels in their current state and the PS4 in its current state do not function together. So when they say the Logitech wheels cannot work with the PS4, it's kind of true, but it's a very simple process to get them working. Just do exactly the same process as what they've done with the other manufacturers' wheels, and boom, they're working. So it's obviously a conscious decision on either Sony's part or Logitech's part not to support the old wheels. And all we can really assume is that because the new Logitech wheel is Sony branded with the PlayStation buttons and everything, we can only assume that basically Sony and Logitech have got together and said, look, let's make a new wheel. Let's tell everyone that our old wheels won't work with the new console, and that way people will be prompted to go out and spend a lot of money on a new wheel, which is essentially the same as the G27, maybe some slight tweaks or whatever. But you know, the G27 is perfectly good enough. It's one of the best wheels out there. But they've basically just reskinned the G27. It looks very similar. And they are trying to get us all to have to spend more money to basically get what we already own. We already own the top spec Logitech wheel, and they're forcing us to pay to use what we already have because we have to buy basically the same wheel again. Now, for me, this is unforgivable, really, and I can totally understand all those people out there who are swearing off Logitech. Now, as I say, this may be a Sony decision. It may be that Sony have said, look, we want you to make us a wheel and we want you to hold off giving support for your old wheels, either indefinitely or for a period of time, so that people will buy the new one and we can make a nice lot of money. Or it could be a Logitech decision. We really don't know. But when I took those those facts to Logitech. When I was emailing back and forward, and fair enough to them, they were coming back to me, but not being very helpful and being very vague and sort of diplomatic, just saying just the very basic. It was almost like a pre-written email. But when I said to them, look, how do you explain the fact that other manufacturers, wheels are working, the old wheels are working, and how do you explain that you've been telling us you're not supporting consoles and now you suddenly are? I just said to them, how do you explain all these lies that you've been telling us? And they basically said no comment, not in those exact words, but it was basically like, we have no comment on this. They had no answer for it. And I got back to them and I said, well, that leaves us basically just to assume exactly what I've been saying to you this whole time. If you have no answer for it, then it kind of proves that they've got no comeback, So there you have it, guys. There's one more thing actually before I go. Another reason that personally I will not be buying it, even if the G29 turns out to be an absolutely incredible wheel, the fact that these new wheels aren't being made to work on PS4 shows that they are not future-proofing their products. Now, on the off chance that what they say is correct and the wheels literally cannot be made to work on the PS4 for whatever crazy reason, if that is in fact true, then that means that when they designed the G27, they didn't have the future in mind. They just made it to work with the current generation of consoles, and that was it. Now, that means that if you go out and buy a G29 now, that when the PS5 comes out, it will not work. Now, I know you're thinking that's a long way off. That is, still years off, but don't forget we're already 2 years or very nearly 2 years into the PS4's lifespan. By the time the G29 comes out, we'll basically be 2 years into, since the PS4 was released. And most generations last for, let's say, around 7 years before the next one comes out. I think the PS1 was 7 years, PS2 might have been a bit longer. But, if in sort of 5 years' time we get a new console coming out, that seems a long way off, but time flies, and especially with an expensive, big, bulky purchase like a steering wheel, in 5 years' time, you don't want to be in exactly the same position again, where you have a very expensive wheel that costs you a lot of money, that you cannot sell for the same amount. They sell fairly well, but you're not going to make your money back, obviously. You're going to lose a lot of money on it, and then you're going to have to go out and buy another wheel again. So why not go out and buy a wheel from Thrustmaster or Fanatic? Because at least they are loyal to their customers. They are making sure that their wheels carry on being usable for years to come, and they don't steal away the support. They don't rob you of the chance to use your wheel with any future technology. Anyway, there you go, guys. So the bottom line is, as things stand, it seems as though they are not planning on adding support for the existing Logitech wheels. We do not know whether that's down to Sony or Logitech, but it is clearly due to the fact that they are releasing a new wheel and they want to make more money from us, and that puts me off buying from them again, coupled with the fact that they are obviously treating their customers awfully. They've withheld information, they've lied to us, and they are making accessories that stop working after a few years of use because they are not designed to work with any future technology. So there you go. I personally will not be buying any Logitech gear again. I leave it up to you whether you do, but that's the bottom line. And I hope that's been helpful. I know it's not been what you were hoping to hear from this video probably, but keep your eyes open on the petition. If there are any more developments, I will keep you up to date. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe for any future updates, and I will catch you all soon with my fingers crossed. I've been Stay Patient, and I'm out.